Hello, everyone. Yes, I'm Michał Sajdak. I'm from Krakow, and let's talk about change in IT security. Actually, here nothing changes. Everyone still can be hacked. So let's see. Today I'll show you 2 or 3 CCTV cameras. I have them here, and I'll be hacking them. We'll have full admin or full root access without any authentication to such cameras. But before we start, just a couple of words about me. I'm a trainer and pen tester. I'm also a researcher. IoT stuff is my hobby, let's say. Here is a couple of different devices I worked with. And today we'll see this Gans CCTV camera and this Bosch CCTV camera. All right, my company, we do penetration testing, so we hack into different devices, web applications, networks, stuff like this. Of course, it's 100% legally. So we protect this stuff. We are showing the bugs, the companies are fixing the bugs, and this is our job. We work for big companies, small companies. It's something like 250 pen tests a year and something like 100 IT security trainings a year. All right, this information is, of course, for educational use only, so don't try to hack devices on the internet. I'll show you how to do it, but don't do it. Okay, why cameras for today? Actually, many cameras can be accessed remotely, so they are already put on the internet. People often buy such cameras and want to have access to live streams. And they're not bothered with VPNs and stuff like this because it's too complicated, so such cameras are directly exposed to the internet, easy hackable. City monitoring, of course, is everywhere. Cameras often record audio, so not only video, but audio too. And historically and currently too, there are botnets, so big networks of hacked devices like cameras, printers, PCs, coffee machines, which were attacking everyone on the internet. And 2 big botnets I have here are Mirai. It captured more than 1 million of cameras, and the cameras were attacking different websites, different services. And newer botnet, IoT Reaper, and a couple of medias were quite concerned about this IoT Reaper. It was it is quite a big botnet. All right, so our first camera is this camera. It is not a cheap camera. It costs over 1,000 euro, and I will show you how to get interactive access to this camera with root privileges without any authentication. We'll be able to zoom this camera, move this camera, change something on this camera with having nothing actually. But before we go to this demo, I will show you how to locate such different devices on the internet. So let's try something like maybe this, Shodan. What is this Shodan? Shodan. Actually, it searches for different IoT devices on the internet, buildings, web cameras, power plants, refrigerators, everything actually. And to search for camera, we can do something like this, camera, country PL, so Poland, and has screenshot yes. So let's try this. All right, I must log in. You can use it on your own. The only needed thing is a free account on this Shodan, so you can just register and that's it. Right. All right, and we have this filter, so camera, country, Poland, and has screenshot yes. And we'll see here a couple of different cameras. This is pretty interesting, because if we navigate directly to this IP address, probably we'll see this in better resolution, so famous yellow cards with something interesting written on it will be there. All right. let's see the last page maybe. Probably the same room, but from another camera. Okay, so this shotgun is probably quite interesting. It can be used to search for different devices, like let's try, for example, country Germany has screenshot yes, and let's see. All right, maybe without this camera. All right, so let's delete it and let's search. This is not so interesting maybe, but if we filter it further by limiting us to VNC protocol, probably we'll see something interesting. Let's wait a bit. All right, only empty stuff here. Let's move to another page. This is something maybe interesting. This is something interesting. Of course, you have here authentication disabled. So you can directly connect to this stuff. I don't know what is this, but it looks something connected with power or stuff like this. No authentication. All right, so this is the first thing. Talking about cameras, there is another interesting site which is called Insecam, insecam.org, and we can filter this stuff to Poland. And we'll see here different cameras stream live. Let's see a couple of random streams. All right. No one here. Something like shops, something. Oh, here is someone moving, for example. Interesting stuff is that you can sometimes find a camera pointed to a cash register where people are giving their credit cards. So with high enough resolution, you're able to just see precisely all the numbers of a credit card. Okay, we don't have time for randomly going through each of a page, so I'll move to the third site, which is called Zoomai. It's Chinese. All right. Usually it loads a bit slow, but after it loads, it's quite fast. All right. Fortunately, they have English interface and how to find different cameras. So let's try camera and country PL or Poland. I don't remember. Let's try this PL. All right. And we'll see here even different, let's say, manufacturers of different cameras, and I can click here to see IP addresses, so probably I'll be able to access them from the internet and try to hack them. But actually, how to hack such a camera? So let's move to the first demo, so this GANS camera. All right. And actually, why this camera is so expensive? Because it's used by many, let's say, big companies, like government companies, and it has quite nice software, so it allows you to locate different objects, like potential bombs or something like this. It can locate people gatherings, stuff like that. So actually, a lot of nice, interesting companies are using this, like New York Police, like FBI, like in Poland, many gas stations, airports in Poland, UK, Switzerland, stuff like this. At least I saw them there. And so let's go to the camera, actually. And here is the view, live view of my camera. It's over there, my right side. And we'll have two parts here. the first part requires authentication, so I buy this camera and play with this a bit. And the second part is fully unauthenticated, so I use the funnel exploit to attack any other camera. So let's move to this first part. All right, so I should click here, Setup. Before we maybe proceed, I will show you this tool. It will be crucial in my demo. So it's called Burp Suite Community or Free Edition. You can download it freely from the internet. And it gives me two things. So the first thing is HTTP proxy running on my laptop. It's here. And then I can reconfigure my browser to send all HTTP requests through this proxy. This is the first thing. And the second thing, I'll be able to modify intercepted HTTP requests. This will be the real hack, so modifying intercepted HTTP requests. All right, so I have this camera here. All right, now I move to this TCP/IP and I take this option. This allows me to obtain IP address or set IP address manually. So this is automatic way, this is manual way. And by using this manual way, potentially I want to check if this IP address is available on my LAN or not. If it's available, I can set this IP address to this camera. If not, I should take other IP address. So here I have OK, so this IP address is free. Now let's see what do we have in Burp Suite. So as a little reminder, all this traffic from my browser to the camera is intercepted by this local Burp Suite. So let's move to this Burp Suite. And here on Keystree, I have this HTTP request. So test action, this something, and this IP address. I'll be changing precisely this request to obtain something. And what I will do here, I will put here pipe at the end, and now a command to be executed. So for example, let's do process list. Probably I need here a space, or maybe not, we'll see. And I will redirect output to tmp www RAM disk, as far as I remember, and I will choose a file like, maybe this. All right. Let's try. I'm not sure if I need a plus here. Let's go. But request, so it means usually that I need a space here. All right. Maybe let's check if this file exists before I issue this request. So test123.txt. So test123.txt, of course not found. Now let's go. So actually this command is executed and the output is put here. So this test123.txt, some errors here maybe, I don't care about this. Refresh, and I have output of this command executed. I can try here something else like cat etc password maybe. Yeah, and I have root password encrypted or hashed or maybe encrypted, and I can try to crack this password and gain access to the operating system. But it will be a bit complicated, so there's an easier way to have access to this camera. So I told you that the first step involves logging into the camera. And this login and password is stored here. I must know this login and password. It's base64 encoded, so it's pretty easy to decode. It's root and password pass, but still you must know this password. If it's complicated, then you can do nothing actually. How to bypass this restriction? And it's pretty easy actually, because if you remove this header, I will get here unauthorized, no login, and password provided. How to bypass this stuff? There is a very pretty easy way. I'll put just after the CGI a slash. So now authentication module thinks that it is CGI slash file, and the authentication module is configured to restrict access only to CGI files. But this is CGI slash file, so it's something different than CGI. And file access module on the web server thinks it's just access to test action.cgi. This slash is ignored. So let's try. We had unauthorized, and now we have it working. We have OK. So this little trick can be used to bypass authentication. And how to get interactive access to this camera? I will remove all this stuff. And I will start netcut here. Do you know this netcut tool or not? Who knows it? Oh, a couple of you. Right, cool. It allows me to open a port, a TCP port in this case, and to set up a shell like bash on this port. I don't know why this netcut is installed by default on this camera. Maybe it is sort of FBI certification or NSA certification. I don't know. I don't care. And let's try to start this in listen mode on port 3333, a random port. Let's start a shell here, so BNSH. And I should also encode all the spaces into pluses. This is a requirement coming from HTTP specification. One more plus here. All right. And maybe version 26, so AMP, so it will go to background. Before I start this stuff, I will see if something is running on this camera. The port was 3333, right? I don't remember. Yes, connection refused. It's pretty normal. Nothing should be listening by default on this strange port. Now, let's try to launch this stuff without any authentication. So we have this thing here. Let's go. And now let's connect. Now it's connected, and I can issue any command here, like ID. I have full root access. PS, I can move this camera, remove something, add something, attack other devices on the same network, stuff like this. And actually, this all stuff can be done completely without this Burp suite. So let's see. I can copy this stuff, this URL line, copy. I will open Chrome. Let's open a new tab. All right. At first, I will check if I'm not logged into this camera. So let's try this stuff. Of course, I'm authorized, unauthorized. Then let's see if our port is listening. Nope. Now the exploit. And the only exploit, again, this camera is something like this. I paste this line from Burp Suite without this stuff maybe. It starts me netcut. No authentication is needed. And suddenly, I have full control over the camera. It works also on public IP address. So vulnerable camera, public IP address, or local connection from Wi-Fi, and the camera is hacked. You can record audio, you can record video, attack other devices, everything actually. To see something maybe a bit more interactive, I will try to actually change something on this camera without any authentication. So let's move to the stream. Right, I will try to change this stuff, this burn in text. So to do this, I will go to setup, video audio, burn in text. At first, I will do this, let's say, legally or normally. So let's try to do something like this. Apply. All right. Now I have this request, or I should have this request in Burp Suite. All right. I will modify this a bit. So let's change this post into get verb. let's add this stuff to bypass authentication, and let's copy this URL. This is our full exploit, let's say. Now I'll move to Chrome. Let's see again if you are not authenticated. Nope. So now our current screen, right? I'll resize this a bit, right? We have TestDive here, and now our exploit. So I'm just pasting this stuff from Burp suite. Authentication bypass, and let's change to something like this, right? I'm not running it yet, so let's resize this window. Let's maybe zoom in a bit. TestDive, and after I click this stuff on Chrome, here on Firefox, it should be automatically changed. So let's try. And as you can see, it has been changed. And you can actually control this camera using such simple stuff. So the only hacking tool you need is a web browser. just this. All right, so this is the first camera. Let's move to the second camera. It will be maybe a bit more complicated. So I will unplug the old camera and plug in this new camera. All right, so probably it'll be booting up for a minute. So let's go back to the presentation. Now I'll be showing you this camera. The second case will be coming at the end of the presentation if we have time. So let's try to hack this camera. And this is a bit cheaper, but a bit smaller. It's also a camera from this Gans company. And there are two parts of this hack. The first part is really, really simple. The only thing you need is also only a web browser. And the second part will be really, really tricky, let's say. So let's try this first part. Maybe 20 more seconds for this camera to boot up. And actually, I'm not showing this stuff too often, and I tend to forget passwords. And if I forget a password, I must restore default settings, default firmware setting to this camera, and this is time-consuming. So before this presentation, I thought, oh no, not again. But then I found that there is a very easy way to just know this password in plain text without any reset. So let's see how we can do this. All right. First thing is to see if this camera is already running. Right. Let me resize this a bit. All right. Now we have this IP address, 103 at the end. And this stuff, we don't know any password. We are screwed. Actually nothing, not found or unauthorized. But there is a little one exception to this unauthorized. There is a hidden file, and this file is located, as far as I remember, in TMP. It's hidden, so dot. It starts with dot. WD. Let's see. And it has been just downloaded here. So no authentication. And let's see what's inside. All right. It is this file. I'll try to open this using normal, text editor. And you have this admin in plain text, password in plain text. And as a bonus, you have something like super admin. It's an undocumented user with password probably hard-coded. I guess it will be available on different cameras. You can't even change this password. So just in case, you can take a photo. If you forget your password, you have it. All right, this is easy part. So let's log in into this camera. I will need here Firefox, so this Burp interception will be working. So let's try this. It is admin, capital letters, and 1, 2, 3, 4. All right, let's go to setup, and let's go to network. And once again, the same stuff. So use the following IP address, and here our IP address. So let's see if this IP address is available or not. Ping test. It's in use because it's used currently by this camera, actually. But we don't care. We only need to intercept stuff from here. So it's HTTP history. So maybe I will clear this stuff. It's too much information. Oh, maybe it's here. We are lucky. So I move this stuff to repeater, this HTTP request to repeater, and I'll try to do the same trick as before. So at first I will try to ping this camera, 1 and 103. Yeah, of course it's responding. Maybe I will resize this a bit. All right, it's responding, and I will try resize this. And I will try to reboot this camera. So I will inject reboot operating system command. All right, it's working here. And now reboot, just after a semicolon. And actually, it's done, but it's not working. And the reason that it's not working is that developers or programmers of this firmware did a little fix or countermeasure against this hack. And the only filter against this IP address is the length. So they check if the length of this IP address is less or equal to 15. So 3 characters, 3 characters, 3 characters, maximum here, 3 characters. So we have 12 in total, and dots 15. And this is, of course, larger than 15 characters, so we are blocked somehow. How to bypass this filter? Actually, every IP address can be written in a bit shorter form. So let's cancel this stuff, and let's do something like this, 127.0.0.1. Okay, and actually in such IP addresses, you can remove zeros, and still it will be a valid IP address. So as you can see, this. Also, you can try to do something like this, ping 1. I'm not sure if it's working. Who thinks it's a valid IP address? 1, 2 persons? 3? It's a valid IP address. It resolves to 0, 0, 0 and 1 at the end. So this 1 is a valid IP address. And if you want to know another trick as a test engineers, let's say, every IP address can be written in also a different form. So for example, if someone is blocking this stuff, this IP address, server side, we want to rewrite this IP address into a different form. How can we do this? First, we can convert this 1 to 7 into binary. We can do this using, normal calc. 1 to 7 in binary, it's 0 and 7 ones. Then 0, of course, binary it's 0, 8 zeros, 0, another 8 zeros, and 1, binary it's 1. So let's try to write this big number in binary. 0, 1, 2, 3, 1, 2, 3, 4, 8 zeros. Then another 8 zeros, and then 1. So 7 zeros and 1. Yeah, so 1 to 7, then 0, 0, and 1. And actually, let's convert this big number into decimal. And it is this big number. So now we can just ping this strange IP address, and it's actually our well-known localhost. So it's another trick to bypass different, let's say, IP addresses filter. If you want to type in your browser http:// and this big number, it will translate to your localhost. But actually, this everything is not needed here. We can do a very simple trick. So just remove everything and semicolon reboot. And let's see if it's working. So our ping to the camera, of course. Now let's try to do this. And now we have request timeout. So it's working. Our camera is rebooting now. So we can inject any command as full administrator, I guess, because only the administrator should be able to issue a reboot command. But how to issue any command and see output can be a bit tricky, because here you can only see this stuff, no output of this command. All right, it's not yet responding, but let's move to our presentation. It will be a bit complicated. So, all right, we had this. So how to start netcat with only 14 characters. Why 14 characters? Because they are limiting the maximum length of this value to 15, but we must use semicolon in the beginning. So we have 14 characters left. All right, this is the first idea. So netcat listening on port 1 and executing our shell. Too big, 21 characters. Let's shorten it a bit. So this can be shortened into stuff like this. It's also too big, 19 characters. And the good idea, at least I thought so, was this. So netcat listening, executing shell, and this shell will be available on a random port. No problem, I will scan through all the ports and I will locate these random ports and I have a shell. It's 14 characters, but unfortunately or fortunately, it doesn't work on a camera. Why? I don't know why. Maybe this netcat has something wrong with this so execute parameter. So let's take another approach, and this is a bit complicated. So I will have 3 requests to have this hack working. The first command, I will put all this stuff, so this semicolon, stuff like this, I will talk about this in 2 seconds. I will inject this stuff here. So here goes this stuff. And actually it starts port 1 on the camera, and it's listening for something. And if something comes to the camera, this is put into this file, so tmpb. First step. The second step is to send a command from my laptop, like this ps command, to port 1 on this camera. And I've said this is put into this file. So our command is sitting in tmpb file. And the last step, the last execution, is to just execute everything which is in this tmpb, so our actually command. And all right. So maybe there's one more missing thing here. So how actually I will see the response? There are 2 ways. I can redirect response from this command to, like I did on this first camera, to tmp something, 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 and access this through web interface, first idea. The second idea is to inject not only this command, but inject something more complicated. So ps, pipe, and netcat back to my laptop. And then I will start another netcat on my laptop, and this execution will force the camera to connect to my laptop and execute this command. And finally, we will have something like this, because I have already a script which automates all this stuff. All right, I'll try to show you this. This script is maybe a bit complicated, but actually there are 3 commands. First, curl instead of my browser, then this netcat with the command, and the last stuff is executing this file from tmpb. It's pretty not complicated. So let's try to start the script. Command to be executed, like PS or anything actually. Now this magic is happening, and we see the output. Also, you can see precisely where is the injection. So they are starting this ping test.sh normally. I inject semicolon. Instead of IP address, I inject semicolon, sh, and something. And I have this netcat to my own IP address coming from the camera. So that's it. So the second case. And the last case, let me replug the camera. All right. The last case will be a Bosch camera. So this will be this camera. It's a bit cheaper, but not so cheap. Almost 1,000 zlotys. And I found here a vulnerability which is really, really crazy. I haven't seen something like that in any of my, let's say, test devices. And probably it may be used on other devices or maybe on other cameras. And let's see if our Bosch is working. IP address, let's try this one. Let's try my default router. And I will locate here IP address of this camera. Advanced network and LAN settings. Where's our camera? Maybe it's here. We'll see. 103 again, or maybe it's still booting up. All right. Not yet, so let's wait. Network and LAN settings. All right, maybe this, or maybe I'll check this camera. All right, should be working already. Nope. Nope. Maybe I'll just scan my local network. And scan mode. So let's try to nmap this. Port 80 and something like this. All right. It's a bit slow, but we'll see. Oh no, wrong network, guys. Should be this. Now it's a bit faster. And where we have open ports, let's try, yes, this 105. All right, so let's try this stuff. Okay. There's a camera here. Settings, but no password. What is the trick here? It is easy to show you, but it was quite complicated to find this bug. More specifically, if I move to my virtual machine, the only thing I need here is wget, so unauthenticated HTTP request coming to my camera, 105. And this request to this URL is surprisingly unauthenticated, and it allows me to dump memory of all this camera, live memory of all this camera. I put here start address and how much memory I want to dump. And at this address, there's something interesting. let me show you. I will save this output of this wget into this file. All right, and now let's analyze this. I have something like this, and this is administrator password in plain text. So now, when I have this password, I can just use this. Service, as far as I remember, and our password was testpwd, capital letters 1. And we have full admin access. So it's pretty scary. So when this camera is starting, the password is copied in plain text precisely into this address and can be extracted using this simple URL. And you're there. All right. I think we are running out of time a bit. So if you want to contact me, here's my email. You can catch me on LinkedIn. You can attend my trainings, also for testers and developers. And if you have any questions about my presentation, now's the time.
I think we're out of time, actually. Would you awfully mind if people just contact you in our kind of networking room for...
Cool, for questions.
Yeah, is that
no
okay,
problem.
guys? We wouldn't like to go over too much. Is that all right?
Yeah, cool. Thank you for listening, Dan.
Okay, 2 questions from the top. Okay, just 30 seconds each. So question number 1, automated cars are a big thing now. They have a lot of sensors and cameras. Are they so easy to hack as well? How would you prevent such hacking? 30 seconds.
30 seconds. Actually, I know a couple of cases where cars were able to be hacked. The one most famous case was from 2 or 3 years. The only required thing was access to the internet, and this car had an open port facing internet, and with some hacking, someone was able to control full car, so braking, steering, stuff like this. Another stuff was to bypass or hack mobile application. Sometimes this mobile application which allows to open a car or turn on, turn off something on a car can be also hacked. Usually it's quite complicated, but it can be done. There is no easy question to this, unfortunately.
Okay, and question number 2, please. What about hacking toothbrushes or night lamps?
It's pretty interesting, but actually, just a couple of days ago, there was even more interesting stuff. So the American organization FDI, concerned with medical stuff and drugs, issued an alert saying that a heart implant can be hacked. So they disable all updates, all communication, stuff like this. It was just a couple of days ago. Everything actually can be hacked.
What did I tell you? Testers save lives, huh? Michał Sajdak, ladies and gentlemen.
Thank you.